your link through the chat. Now, for each session, all the Q&A session from now onwards until the day 3, we will going to join through Slido. So we will be using the Slido link to attend your questions for the speakers. Now, whenever you are asking any speaker, please specify your question towards which speaker you are indicating or asking the question. So you can scan this particular QR code and our moderator assistant will post the direct link in the chat as well if you have questions for our speakers. So I will look forward to attend your questions later on by the moderator. Moving forward, let me introduce the moderator for this second session. Associate Professor Dr. Joaquim Miguel Diaz Soero is the moderator for this session, focusing on innovation and technology in tourism to achieve SDGs. I hope you will have a great session from this time onwards. Over to you, Dr. Joaquim.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Upam. Good afternoon to everyone. Okay, good afternoon from Malaysia, and welcome to the Create Summer School second edition. All right, so today we are in the session 2 on the topic innovation and technology in tourism to achieve SDGs, and we have 2 wonderful speakers today, Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, who I saw in the chat saying hi to everyone. So good afternoon, good morning to you, Professor. And also Professor Marianna Sigala, who also joined us, that will be conducting the session today. I would like to share some particular thanks to Dr. Nawal Shaouni. Unfortunately, she won't be able to join us today for health reasons. We thank her for all the efforts and support given for the Create Summer School. So let me introduce about Professor Buhalis. Right, so wonderful speaker. So he will be the first speakers. And after this session, we will be taking some questions. All right, and I will be helping us to answer some of them. And the second session will be with Professor Sigala, followed by the Q&A session. So let me introduce the first speaker, Professor Dimitrios Buhalis. He is a strategic management and marketing expert with specialization in information communication technology applications in the tourism, travel, hospitality, and leisure industries. He is currently a visiting professor at the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at Hong Kong Poly, and he is the director of the E-Tourism Lab and deputy director of the International Center for Tourism and Hospitality Research at Bournemouth University Business School in England. He is the editor-in-chief of the most established journal in tourism, which is Tourism Review, and the editor-in-chief of the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing. His research pioneers smart and ambient intelligence tourism with a particular focus on innovation, entrepreneurship, and destination ecosystems management. Professor Buhalis has written and co-edited more than 25 books and 300 scientific articles. He is a world expert in strategy, marketing, technology, tourism, and hospitality. His research is referenced widely, and Professor Buhalis was recognized as a highly cited researcher in 2020 and 2021 by Clarivate. The highly cited researchers list identifies researchers who produced multiple papers ranking in the top 1% by citation for their chosen field or fields and year of publication, demonstrating significant influence among their peers. All right, so he is the 3rd most cited for tourism, 2nd most cited for hospitality, 10th on strategy, and 29th on marketing on Google Scholar with more than 52,000 citations and page index of 98. Professor Buhalis also features in the Stanford University database of the world's top 2% scientists. The list is long. I will stop here, and we are all delighted to welcome here today Professor Buhalis. If you are ready to share your slides, and the time is yours, it will be followed by a Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Joaquim. Great introduction and wonderful to be with you. I think the most important thing that you need to know is that Professor Buhalis is currently on holiday in Greece, in the south of Greece, close to Kalamata, in the new W hotel in Greece. And because we're all tourism professionals, I'll see what I'm missing for doing this presentation. So I would like to do this presentation quite quickly and then go on this beautiful sea and have a dive. How about that? Yeah. Okay. The reason why I'm doing that is because quite often we are talking about tourism, but we don't understand that tourism is a real live industry where a lot of people are giving us their hopes, their best time, and their resources in terms of money and value. And it's really important that you guys come and visit Greece because the people here need your expenditure, and they need your presence to actually develop things towards the future. So now I got your attention. We may as well share some of the developments that we see around the world in terms of how technology is changing dramatically the tourism industry, and how we engage with this tourism industry to create solutions for many different regions around the world. Let me share some slides with you. And as I said, I hope I'll be able to do them quite fast so I can go there and enjoy that beautiful, beautiful place. Can you confirm that you can see my slides?
Yes, we do. We can see it.
Fantastic. I'm currently a visiting professor in the School of Hotel and Tourism Management, Hong Kong Polytechnic University, up to the end of the month. And then I'll be going back to my position in Bournemouth University. And as many of you would know, I'm editing the Tourism Review. And I'm just very, very glad to see the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing printed last week. In fact, I haven't seen it. I've seen pictures of it because it's waiting for me in my office in England. The beauty of globalization is that you can see everything without seeing anything. So these are the two things that you really need to be reading, and you should be asking your universities to buy and have them in the library. The encyclopedia has got 1,250 entries contributed by 1,500 tourism professors. Many of you are on this call. It's 3,528 pages in 4 volumes. So it's more than 2 million words. And this was my COVID project. And what you see on top is Naxos Island and the Portara in Greece. And this is a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. And then you've got the Tourism Review that we're continuing working on it. So when we are talking about these things, we are almost finishing the COVID crisis. And the COVID crisis, I'll go very quickly through some of the things that we've been experiencing in the last couple of years. And this is a picture from Ubud in Bali that says, no tourists, no food. A lot of people are blaming tourism for all kinds of things, but we really need to understand what tourism is doing. And no tourists, no food it's something that we experience around the world. This is from Cairns in Australia, where the Zapukai Aboriginal Cultural Park had to shut down. And this is on Naxos Island, a friend who is creating very nice cheese that's called arsenico. And they couldn't find tourists to sell their cheese, and their family was going hungry. So it's all about dealing with these things. You've seen the statistics from the World Tourism Organization, and the fact that in 2020 we're minus 74%. This is the latest statistics in July 22, and we see the different scenarios. It's going up. Depending on the region you are, you've got different impacts. The more Asian countries, especially since China is closed, they're suffering from tourism, and many Asian countries have been closed to tourism for a while. And this is what we see in Europe. In Europe, a lot of things are opening up. And since I came from Hong Kong to Greece, quite often you don't really understand that there's a COVID pandemic around from the way that people behave, because they're going to theaters, they go to festivals, they're going to music kind of places, and there are very, very few precautions. But you see that in Asia Pacific, the situation is much more difficult. So this created a whole range of different things. For example, we realized how critical tourism is for tourism around the world and how important it is for the economy in the world. And I was locked in doing the encyclopedia, and as soon as I finished editing the encyclopedia last summer, I went to Naxos Island, and you can see the Portara there. Spot the difference, yeah. In fact, Marianna, that is going to be speaking to you in a few minutes, is on an island, Santorini, a little bit farther down, a little bit south from Greece, a little bit south from Naxos. So what really people realize immediately is that they really want to travel, and they want to travel because that implicates their mental health and implicates their ability to see friends and family and to engage with different kind of activities that we normally do. And of course, places like Greece right now is booming because a lot of people, and especially from the United States, that the dollar is very strong, are coming over to enjoy holidays. But what you see is the revenge traveling is creating a lot of issues in terms of a lot of people trying to go through, and we've lost the capacity to deal with these things. This Heathrow Airport and the suitcases crisis that they are finding there. Okay, this is where we are, August 2022, and I really want to take you towards a vision for 2030, and then talk to you about how smart tourism is going to help us develop the vision for 2030. 2030 is only 7 years away now, in a few months, and we expect to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that many of them went thousands of years back because of COVID. For example, plastic. A lot of people have used one-use plastic that we had managed to escape from many, many years. A lot of the protective equipment was all plastic, used one time and thrown away. Most of the food has been served in plastic containers, again, throwaway things because of COVID. So we've lost a lot of time in this process because of the COVID situation. But we need to kind of recover some of the space and look into each of the Sustainable Development Goals and look into how technology is helping us doing that. First, we need to look into how tourism is helping us to develop the different aspects of the Sustainable Development Goals. And in fact, there were people that think that tourism is only making a small contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals, and only a few of them. But actually, there is not one single one that tourism is not touching. And we're doing a lot of research currently with Kathy Su in Hong Kong Polytechnic University to look into how each of them is addressing, how tourism is addressing each of the Sustainable Development Goals. And we are finalizing a virtual special issue in Tourism Review, where we are addressing how tourism is addressing the Sustainable Development Goals and it's building towards 2030. And out of the encyclopedia, what we found is that, okay, you're all familiar with the tourism system up here coming from leap year, and how we need to develop equitable returns of resources that are coming into the system for all the stakeholders that they're expecting value to be co-created. Now, what the encyclopedia is bringing is bringing the pyramid framework, where it's talking about planning, management, and development. It's talking about the management, the market forces that they're driving the demand side. It talks about the exogenous variables and factors of the external environment that's engaging with the tourism industry, both incoming and outgoing. And then the technologies and the infrastructure that they provide, the smart and agile base for all the system to operate together. You can see this. This is basically my introduction and the statement of the editor, and you can see that in those addresses, because I think this is the best synthesis that you have seen for tourism, that brings everything together in one very comprehensive kind of way of thinking about how the tourism industry should be developed and managed. Of course, we're getting out of this through smart and agile tourism, using technology and using agility. Technology and agility are related, but actually they are not the same. Technology empowers smartness and agility and helps to develop resilience in terms of the tourism industry. We really need to look forward as the past becomes irrelevant. It becomes irrelevant because our customers change dramatically, our resources are changing dramatically, and the way we operate changes dramatically. And we really need to look into how we can take advantage of agility and how we need to get away from the era of very long planning and kind of situations where you were planning for the next 10 years and you were sticking to your plans. You know, companies will have a long-term plan, middle range plan, and a short-term plan, but they'll be sticking to the plan rather than looking to the external environment and dynamically adapting to the situation and the new challenges that they face. And I think one of the most important things in the beginning is in the future is looking to agility in a way of planning and managing and developing all those things. I think Tourism 2030 will be anthropocentric, will focus on humans, and will be agile. And you'll have different pillars supporting this. So you've got the customer experience, you've got the digital ecosystems, you have sustainable development and industry competitiveness. And you'll be operating all of those things at the same time in order to make sure that sustainable development goals are achieved. You have intelligence in the middle, you've got inspiration, innovation, then you've got inclusiveness, internationalization. Those are the factors, the 5 I's, what I call the 5 I's, that they'll be driving Tourism 2030. And then you'll have all the stakeholders taking advantage out of this. But intelligence is the one that's going to be driving things. And of course, we've seen the 5 stages of travel before, during, and after. And we've seen the different innovations on the innovation radar. And on the innovation radar, we'll be looking to what do we offer and how we offer it, but also where do we offer it and to whom do we offer it. And this is really where innovations are going to take forward a range of different solutions for sustainability and for different stakeholders. Now, we need equality, equity, and justice happening all together. And we need to find ways that we have an inclusive kind of approach, using technology, using agility, using smartness, to bring everybody to be able to enjoy the public goods and also to enjoy the leisure activities and to enjoy the holiday experience that they're contributing and the travel experience that they contribute so much to mental wellness and the opportunity to be part of the society on the large scale. Globally, we need to bring research, impact, staff, students, and industry together, and we need to operate all of these things and coordinate all these things together in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So we need a vision of intelligence towards 2030, where smartness and agility will be critical for the co-creation of knowledge and value for all the stakeholders, where you're going to have empathy and community engagement. You'll have stakeholders dialogue and progress dynamically, not once, but all the time. You'll have innovation and inspiration that will drive a range of different solutions by being empowered by technology and connected through agile systems in real time. So we are going towards a situation where we'll be globally aware and focused, always evolving and forever innovating, and everything will be in a better form, constantly improving and evolving. This is a very different kind of approach that we have than what we had in the past. Because in the past we had someone developing a hotel and waiting for this hotel to operate for 10 years before they touched again. So increasingly what we'll have is all of these things constantly evolving. And more importantly, will be emotional intelligence of everybody who is engaged in this industry, and will be important to actually bring together not only customers, but also customers, local residents, staff, and everybody who is involved in the ecosystem. Because what we find currently is that one of the things that the COVID left behind is it's a huge human resource crisis where we don't have enough staff to operate in our industry. And because we haven't treated our staff very well, and we really need to engage in that. What we've got is we've got our assets in terms of products, branding, co-creation, experience. And we'll have a lot of authentic experience differentiating different areas. And a lot of these things will help us to reignite tourism. But we also need to bring back a lot of our staff, change the procedures, and manage tourism in a very, very different way that staff really love to work with us. So smartness will take advantage of interconnectivity and interoperability of integrated technologies to re-engineer process and data in order to produce innovative services, products, and procedures towards maximizing the value for all the stakeholders. You really need to read this paper if you haven't done it already, because that explains how we went from technology to e-tourism, to smart tourism, and now towards ambient intelligence tourism, where everything's connected and everything is interoperable and interconnected through mutually beneficial systems, where all the stakeholders enjoy the value that's being co-created for them. Smartness is all about networks and the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything. It's all about sensors and beacons. It's all about big data and data analytics. It's all about social media, Web 2, and user-generated content. It's about technological enablers. It's about co-creating value for all the stakeholders, and at the same time competing between different layers. It's not about automation and technology and digitization, but it's more about real-time, dynamic, adaptive, customized, individualized, and contextualized experiences that they are being co-created to meet the real-time requirements. So ambient intelligence is really about smart systems that propelling interconnectivity and interoperability of all the systems, vehicles and devices through the Internet of Everything to maximize the value for all the different stakeholders. Consumers and stakeholders are going in the middle. You've got all kinds of technologies around them that supporting them in operating and engaging with the different resources to maximizing the benefits. Again, I don't have the time to go through each of them, but please have a look on the paper where we're explaining that. And then the enabling technologies are synthesizing innovations, and then they come in the marketplace where you've got the supply side on the one side and the customer side on the other side, and they're all getting together in the middle. Let me see, because it's I've got a problem here with my hold on a second. I'll need to check my battery. I'll move to an inside place because I've got a warning that my battery is running out. It's the glory of doing things from a hotel room. So I need to go inside and find a better supply of electricity. I've only have got a few slides to go, and then I'll go. Okay, that's being agile, right? You see in the middle of the presentation that your battery is running out and you're moving to an inside place with not such a brilliant background, but never mind. So big data is changing a range of things because we really need to understand what is big data, how big data is helping us to develop and play with a different kind of formation and to co-create value using the different types of data that we've got. Hold on, that's better now. Okay, here we go. And then this is the Sokomore paper that we published in 2015, talking about internal and external factors, where you see the different factors that they are addressing the real-time situation. And Sokomore means social media context-based and mobile context, where we understand what is the user experiencing at this particular moment and how they engage with the different resources that they are available at the destination. I think this is really critical in terms of how we engage with real-time conversations across different contexts. And we've done some research with Daisy Fan about the different typologies of people when they travel. And we see that people are engaging in face-to-face social contact and at the same time online social contact. And what's becoming more evident is that increasingly people operate simultaneously online and offline. And this is more or less what we call Metaverse, right? Because what's going to happen is that we are engaging online and offline at the same time. And by doing that, we need to use technology to support users to actually take advantage of the resources online and offline. And critically, we are developing human-to-human interaction between all kinds of different interactions in terms of business, governments, consumers, employees, interest groups, local residents, and ultimately robots and machines. So nowness becomes absolutely critical in terms of understanding what is the real-time co-creation of services and nowness. And it's really about how do we engage with different players in terms of managing sustainable development goals and resources and taking advantage of what we've got in real-time situations. And that is increasingly becoming more important because nowness is driving instant gratification, and instant gratification is providing competitive advantage based on real time. So basically what I've been saying is that smartness is bringing together the data that's coming from the travel sector all the way to the cloud of technology, co-creating value, aggregating value, and that comes as a storm of value to consumers. And consumers are enjoying the new kind of real-time propositions that they offer at the destination. And the trick for the destinations and for sustainability is to make sure that they are offering things that they are not only profitable, but they're also sustainable and engaging with the different communities, and at the same time sustaining the communities. And this is something that we're working currently. We have just published this paper on real-time response in terms of smart systems approach to destination resilience. Because if we understand innovation and if we understand how resilience can be developed based on the different stakeholders and the different data that we see, we can improve resilience and we can improve the ability of communities to address crises like COVID or natural disasters or any of these things. And finally, robots. And robots are coming into the game. And robots are going to be critical in addressing the needs of consumers and societies, and especially when humans are not suitable or are not available to serve particular situations. Quite often in situations where it's dangerous for humans to intervene, or in situations where scalability of robots will provide better experiences than humans. And of course, when we're talking about robots, a lot of people are saying this is something happening in the future, but in fact, it's happening already. This is the K11 in Hong Kong. This is the robot that was following me in the New Century Grand Hotel in Hangzhou in China. And this is in K11 in Hong Kong. And a lot of things are coming in terms of robot developments in the tourism industry. This is the paper we've produced recently on a global survey of what it will take for people to adopt robots in hotels. And this is how hotel management attitude is actually creating the opportunities for robots to be adopted. And when you are looking into this, you see that the relative advantage, which is the objective kind of benefits that robots are bringing forward through innovation, but also you see that leadership and top management support is really, really critical in terms of adopting robots. And competitive pressure, that it's what about other people that they've used robots is creating pressure for managers to adopt robots to their operations. And of course, robots are not going to be only anthropomorphic robots, but there'll be voice-activated robots and all kind of different things that you'll find around. This is in K11 in Hong Kong, where if you are buying a tea from these robots, they're doing a little dance to thank you for buying a tea from them. And of course, now it's kind of getting a little bit gimmicky, but this is a very interesting way of engaging with consumers. Now, I know I rushed through a lot of material, but I'd like to leave you with a long list of different publications where I've been dealing with things like that for the last almost 30 years, and to show you how technology is engaging in sustainable development goals and driving towards 2030, and also in bringing the different stakeholders together to maximize the value for the different stakeholders. And this is the book on gamification and all the other things. So this is where you'll find me on buhalis.com, and this is my WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and everything else you like to connect with me. Thank you very much. How was that for time, Joaquin?
Time was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keeping the time. Actually, it's, despite your small battery problem. So thank you so much, Professor Buhalis. So we have actually a couple of questions. So first question, is there anything we need to pay attention to when choosing VR cases? For example, do we need to create a complex lab or just find a few scenic ones and so on?
I cannot hear you very well.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can you say that again?
Of course, definitely. Is there anything we need to pay attention to when choosing VR cases? For example, do we need to create a complex lab or just find a few scenic ones?
Well, quite often people are thinking about technology as a monster. That's a very, very complicated thing that that you need to invest awfully lot of money. And of course, yes, you need to invest on new technology, but more importantly, you need to invest on the re-engineering of the processes that you are following. And I think the processes are more difficult than the actually financial involvement. But quite often what you find is that there are simple solutions available to us. So I show you this new hotel that I'm experiencing right now, and I went to the seafront yesterday. And normally, if you want, so there's a very long beach for about 2 kilometers, and the resort is quite scattered. It's a beautiful sea in front of you. But if you wanted to have food or drink on the seafront, you either have to have a waiter coming, or you had somehow to communicate, or you had to walk 250 meters to the bar to come back. So what they've done is they've given you a WhatsApp number. So you WhatsApp them and say, hi, I'm in umbrella 253, and I would like to have some coffee, please. So they send you the menu, you order through the WhatsApp, and someone brings that to you to your umbrella. Simple, very simple solution. But actually that simple solution is creating innovation. Mm-hmm. So back to your question, it's all about simple solutions and simple innovations that are happening on top of the complexity that we're experiencing on a lot of different things.
Thank you for the response. I have one question here, asking maybe some of your experience opinions. Which destination is close to smart, sustainable, and ambient tech concepts? Where are the major think tanks and places practicing the most advanced smart DMs?
I think globally you'll find China is closer to smartness because mainly of security issues. And the other country that I can single out is Spain. In Spain has invested many years in different aspects of smartness, and they're doing a very good job on this.
All right, thank you. So linked to the same question on which are the most tech-savvy destination. So someone is inquiring on what's the role of universities and IT corporation in this journey.
We're creating all the innovation. We need to do the research, and we need to work very closely with industry in order to make sure that we are creating the innovation. It's exactly like the people who are creating technology, mobile phones, 6G, and all these things. We really need to do the cutting edge research to make sure that they can that the industry can adopt viable solutions, change processes, and make sure that all the stakeholders are successful.
So, do you think the reliance on smart tech in tourism will cause tech fatigue to SMEs, tourism operators?
First of all, those who are not smart enough will not survive. The second question is, would small businesses survive smartness? I think smart SMEs are smarter than the big corporation. So I was talking to someone yesterday about how difficult it is for a big company like Marriott with almost 10,000 hotels to actually have processes in smartness and technology, and in comparison to a small business that can do whatever they like. But they need to be smart enough to be able to have that. So smart, innovative small businesses can be much smarter than large organizations. And large organizations have got the resources, but sometimes they're not agile and they're not flexible enough to be able to do that.
All right. All right. One last question. What is your view on the place of robotics in tourism in regards to taking over human space and its effect on the experience process?
Well, I think robots will take a lot of places in the process, and unfortunately, they'll take human jobs as well. But they'll take a lot of jobs that humans do not want to do. So, who wants to be a dishwasher? Who wants to be a pot washer? Who really wants to be a cleaner in an airport? So if we can have robots taking care of those things, I think humans can concentrate on co-creating the experiences. But equally, the humans do not always co-create good experience. So we really need to, there are too many questions in there that need a lot of research.
Yeah.
We assume that humans co-create good experiences. That is not the case. It was the case last night with a fantastic waitress I had. I had one of the best waitresses I've ever experienced in my life. But 3 days ago, I experienced one of the worst waiters of my life. At least robots are constant and they are predictable and they are programmable. Okay, so there are too many questions there that we need to address.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Dimitrios. Someone is inquiring, when will the authors get access to the entries published in the encyclopedia?
All the entries are currently available. If someone does not have access, please email me, or even better, email the publisher, and they're going to send you a little code so you can have access to everything. Please make sure that every library in the world buys the encyclopedia so your students can have access to it too.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank
Enjoy your
you.
time in
I'm off
Greece.
to the beach. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to move on to the second speaker. And we have Professor Marianna Sigala, apparently not that far from Professor Dimitrios, just a different island. So let me introduce Professor Sigala. So she's a professor at the University of Piraeus in Greece. She previously had the position of the Professor of Tourism and the Director of the Center for Tourism and Leisure Management at the University of South Australia between 2015 and 2021. She has also been an academic staff at the University of Strathclyde and Westminster University in the UK and the University of Hajah in Greece. Academic credentials are combined with professional experience in the tourism industry. Interests include services and experience management, information and communication technologies, ICT, in tourism and hospitality, as well as wine tourism. She is a widely published and multi-awarded authority, 9 books, numerous papers in academic journals, and keynote presentations in international conferences. She has a long record of leadership and participation in international research projects funded by various entities, such as the EU, the Council of Europe, and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade Australia. She is the past president of the Eurocre and the past member of the executive board of the ICRE and IFITT. She currently serves as the executive board of CAUTHE, C-A-U-T-H-E. She is the co-auditor of the Journal of Service Theory and Practice and the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Management. In 2016, she has been awarded the prestigious Eurocre President Award for her lifetime contributions and achievement to tourism and hospitality education. Since 2020, Professor Sigala is also appointed as a research fellow of CAUTHE, right, the Council for Australian Tourism and Hospitality Education. All right, Professor Sigala, the floor is yours, and followed by the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. It's really, how can I say, refreshing to hear what I have achieved in life. And there are so many things, you mentioned some of them, but yes, it also reminds me how old probably I am. I regularly color my hair, so you can't see them quite white. So thank you very much for the kind invitations to speak to your summer school, the second version that you're organizing, and the important topic that you have selected this year to talk about sustainability and sustainability goals, because unfortunately, I think for many years, and particularly during COVID, we had been philosophizing a lot. But we are lacking a really substantial action to make a real world impact, I think. Unfortunately, Dimitrios has ruined my interactive exercise today, because as you see, I do have a background of a picture of where I'm currently located. I was going to ask you where it is, but Dimitrios already revealed that. But I think my birthplace doesn't need a lot of introduction. It's one of the top worldwide destinations, famous ones, the island of Santorini. I was lucky to born and live and work and educated, at least until high school, on the island. I have seen the tourism development on the island since the early stages, since the late 70s until late 90s, when I was permanently living on the island. I regularly visited, and I would say I have really first-hand experience in terms of what over-tourism is, what are really the negative impacts of tourism on local communities, and the really disruption that is happening in society, families, communities, traditions, culture, and so on. So yes, I am busy. I'm here not holidaying. Actually, I do holiday, but Santorini is my living lab. I do have quite a lot of projects with the local authorities. The major issues for them are sustainability. This year, the tourist numbers on the island, they have overpassed the numbers on 2019. 2019 and the years before, they were talking about over-tourism. So how shall we call it now? Super over-tourism or hyper over-tourism? I don't know. Literally and practically, there is a plane landing every 5 or 10 minutes maximum. 5 regular flights with British Airways, low-cost airlines, you name it. Anyway, long introduction, but I think I had to mention that because indeed, in Europe, it's not just Santorini. I think in Europe, south of Europe this year, tourism has come back in more than normal numbers. I was in Thailand in July. I went to Maldives. I was invited for a conference. The Minister of Maldives participated in August. These destinations have not recovered yet. I could see there were people traveling, but they still feel the impact of COVID. This is not true for Europe. I think the Europeans, they still feel more comfortable to travel short term and close to their living place. They don't want to go long haul for the obvious reasons. We do have the Americans because the dollar is strong. I don't know how the situation will continue in Europe because the more confident people build, they will travel long haul. The issue is that the destinations in Europe, they haven't got prepared to face the numbers and the crowds. They have done almost nothing to become sustainable or to get ready for the numbers. And they haven't been prepared for the next normal. They just operate as back in 2019, and many of them, particularly the politicians, they want to go back to the 2019 and the numbers they had. Anyway, that's, as I said, a long introduction in terms of my views and experiences during the last months in terms of what I see and what I experience and what I view. However, the topic today is about technology, innovation, and sustainability. I will just share with you my PowerPoint. So I can go through the slides and the ideas that I wanted to share with you. I'm not going to provide a supermarket list or a simple description of different technology applications that different destinations or organizations can use to achieve some sustainability issues or goals. I will try to be at a very abstract or high level discussion in terms of what is the role of technology and technology use in terms of sustainability in tourism. So as I mentioned before, during COVID, or probably during the lockdowns of COVID, that the economy was closed and everybody was locked down at home, we have been doing a lot of philosophizing, yeah? From academicians to politicians to simple civilians and consumers, everybody was rethinking, reforming, resetting, reflecting on their past practices, promising they will become better consumers, better parents, better staff, better politicians. They were sharing their dreams about how they reimagine their future. And then what happened after COVID? But probably this is not correct terminology. COVID is still here. Probably after, isn't it, the reopening of the economy? What we see, it's another but not a good it's revenge. Revenge from the people that they have been locked down. They have been suffering from mental health, from constraints to meet family, friends, to go out, to meet other people and cultures. And they wanted to take revenge and to compensate for what they think they have lost. And they're traveling like crazy, even irrespective of the inflation that is around 10%, more or less in Europe, increased petrol prices, high airfares, people are still traveling. It's really amazing. So you see how people feel that they want to explode in terms of their emotions and what they feel that they have lost. Unfortunately, the same is true from the industry or supply side. The industry has been suffering. It has lost a lot of income, a lot of jobs have been lost, and they think that within a year they can make, or they can take back, isn't it, whatever they have lost for 2 years. Prices are super expensive. I was looking at numbers in Greece. The hotel prices are on average 134% more than last year. And I'm talking only about hotels. Think about airplanes, petrol transfer, tours, you name it. And I don't think we can only blame COVID to that. As I mentioned, we have war, we have inflation, we have the economic recession coming because of the really overspending of governments during COVID, increased taxes, and many other problems. Now, during COVID, technology played a major role. Technology was always important for tourism. Technology has always been the lifeblood of tourism. But what happened because of COVID? Technology adoption has been accelerated. People were locked down. They did everything through technology. They did schooling, they had access to their fitness, they did online cooking classes, they went to festivals online, they connected with friends online, they worked online, and the same happened with supply. Yeah, they haven't stopped. Probably the restaurants were closed, but they were cooking, they were delivering with mobile apps food to people. Festivals were closed, but they were broadcasting shows online. The staff was not busy, but they used technology to retrain them or to upgrade their skills. So technology adoption accelerated really fast. Many people, they say that whatever they were saying that they were going to do for, I don't know, the 5 last years, they had to do it within one night. I have been talking with tourism companies. They said, we wanted to be on Facebook to streamline, I don't know, festivals online. We were talking about this for 5 years. We haven't done it because of COVID. Within 2 days, we found the solution. So we have seen an increased adoption of technology during COVID from both parts, demand and supply. Because of necessity, technology has also boosted innovation. Companies, they were obliged to use technology to innovate. We have seen increased adoption of robots, so customers do not get in touch, isn't it, with service employees, adoption of online events, isn't it, remote working, you name it. Technology has also changed customers' expectations, needs, behaviors. They usually say, based on theory, that it only needs 1 month of continuous behavior for a consumer to create a new behavior. Well, in COVID, the consumers have been using technologies for more than a month. So that means for me that nowadays the consumers have a new behavior already. It might have been sounded, for example, silly for somebody, particularly me, you know, to pay a ticket to go to a festival online. I said, am I stupid to pay a ticket to go online? Am I stupid to attend a wedding online? That's boring. It's stupid. Well, nowadays people have done it and they demand it. They demand it if they cannot go to a wedding because it's expensive, because they don't want to waste their time to go online and attend a wedding. They expect not to travel every day for business purposes. They prioritize business events or conferences because they want to balance family and work life, because companies, they want to reduce their business costs. So they now demand hybrid events. So what we have expected or we have seen during COVID, it's not going to finish. It's going to continue in the future. We're talking about the physical, isn't it, experiences that they are here to stay. The technology was also responsible for the reopening of the industry. I'm not sure about the resetting, but definitely about the reopening. If the industry has opened, is because of many different technologies: digital passports, digital vaccination certificates, temperature controls, cleaning materials, robots, I don't know, cleaning around, isn't it? And all that. If we wouldn't have had the technology, probably the industry wouldn't have recovered or go back to the normal that we're currently seeing so fast. So technology has played a major role. It was always important, but the importance of technology has increased, and we realize that we heavily depend on it. We cannot survive without it. I've been doing research during COVID. I have been trying to see how technology is fostering innovation in the industry during COVID. And what I have discovered is any innovation that it has happened during COVID, it was technology driven. You see here a supermarket list of different types of innovations, new distribution channels, for example, that companies have done, the development of new markets, for example, restaurants doing online cooking classes, festivals, or even discos having online DJ, social drinks and social dancing online. And now we are talking about the Metaverse, having discos and the Museum of Louvre, or even destinations being on the Metaverse. I have participated on a conference that took place on the Metaverse. Yeah, totally new market that is here to stay, and definitely it is challenging industry structures, practices, and people's expectations. Companies have been using technologies to keep in touch with customers, to implement CRM. Yeah, during the lockdowns, we have seen advertisement online from destinations. We care about you. We are here to wait for you. Reflect. And all this, I wouldn't say bullshit, but it was bullshit, because in reality, destinations were doing nothing. They were just commercializing emotions and trying to persuade people that they think about them. For goodness sake, do they know them personally? Do they know what their troubles is? Anyway, I will talk about this later on anyway. Digitization or virtualization of online offerings, of any business, from clubs to wineries to festivals, from hotels to concerts, you name it. Many HRM practices, from training to remote working to repurposing the staff to do different things. And we have been talking about remote working, but then if you see the legislation about flexible working, it hasn't changed. So what type of innovation do we talk about? Just digitizing how people do the work without changing legislation to protect, for example, the human rights and the workers, that they work at home if they have an accident, or the timetable that they can respect, or the work-life balance that they have to do. This is a kind of a superficial technology-driven innovation rather than deep innovation that changes institutions, legislations, or mindsets. Yeah, we were talking about virtual teams being online, but nobody in tourism has been ever trained how to manage and motivate or reward virtual teams. So what are we talking about? Anyway, technology has enabled tourism companies to create and foster partnerships, to do contactless services with robots, isn't it, AI, chatbots, you name it. And of course, a lot of data-driven innovation, big data use for personalization, recommendation systems, for identifying new markets, it has been booming. So a lot of innovation has been taking place during COVID. I was particularly interested to find out how technology has been used during COVID for online communication. And I have collected a lot of data. I haven't published the paper yet, but it will appear very soon in a journal. But what I sadly have found is that all this communication, it was in some way what I call a marketized corporate social responsibility activity or a commercialization of emotions. It was nothing in substance behind it. To give you some examples, tourism companies, they have been tweeting, Facebooking, using YouTube channels to promote how they support and they help people in need. First line workers, for example. Yeah, Starbucks was closed. It was saying we donate, we repurpose material, food material that is going to expire, or even cleaning stuff to hospitals, to people in need. We have employees, we don't want to fire them, we will repurpose them, and we contribute to the society and help manage the COVID. And suddenly, from being a bad company, Starbucks, exploiting the coffee makers in Brazil and wherever, it appears and it becomes a good company. Are you serious? What have they changed? They reopened the coffee shops, then they continue the practices they did previously. But now we have a better image about them. Why? Because they have repurposed things that they were going to waste anyway. And they exploited that to manage our emotions and change our images about them. Another example, Heineken, but Heineken, it was not the only one. Look online what McDonald's has done, Pizza Hut has done, and many other companies. They were doing cause-related marketing with different online marketing campaigns, saying to people, you know, restaurants are closed, but help the society manage the COVID and become a good citizen. Buy a Heineken, buy a Pizza Hut now, because every dollar that you spend, we will donate 5–10% to people in need. So what do they say to me? I have to become fat, eating pizzas and hamburgers from McDonald's to save the society? I have to buy a McDonald's or a Heineken and feel that I'm a good citizen. I've done my duty. I have nothing else to do. They are good citizens as well. They will donate the money and problem is solved. Is that the problem of the society, that we don't have enough money to give to people in need? Or do we have to change the society so that the society doesn't have people that they are in need? The communication that it has been going online, it was a kind of a COVID washing, I would say. Yeah, they have changed in our perception of what is the problem and what is the solution to the problem. And unfortunately, the companies have been appearing as a good image, and they made us feel that we were a good citizens and everything is solved. I think that was horrible. For those that they could think deeper or they can see the substance behind it. Some other examples. Example of companies that they gave you a solution of what was going on with COVID. You are locked down at home, you can't go to a restaurant to socialize with a friend. Don't worry, we have the chef cooking online. We will send you a box with all the food. We will train you online how to cook. Your friend will be at home, you will be at home, and you socialize online. We make money, you meet your friend, you are happy, no mental problems, the society continues, problem is solved. Are you serious? Is the COVID problem a problem that we are locked down, or is the COVID a problem that is a biological leading to a societal and a community problem that nobody has tackled? And you're doing nothing about it, but just doing technology-driven innovation to continue your economic sustainability and profitability. I think there are many deeper issues that we need to really address or criticize as responsible researchers, at least. And the thing continues even after COVID. Companies have been using online media to continue their campaign, to persuade people to come back very fast. For example, Marriott initiated a multi-channel online campaign, trying to persuade people to travel now, spend their money now, because they were suffering. Well, they were not saying we are suffering, we want money immediately, we want to open our hotels globally, but they were saying to people, travel has the power to save us. They were selling the dream to people, that they will transform them. They will solve their mental problems by traveling. And although before COVID, traveling was something bad, you were creating carbon emissions, you were a bad person to, I don't know, island economies because the capitalist economy are exploiting the locals. Suddenly, a tourism activity that previously was bad, it is being promoted as ethical consumption. They promote to people that it's good to travel, irrespective of how you travel, because it's good for you. Or it's good for the local economies because you give them money. Well, you give them the money, but you still exploit them. And you as a company have done nothing to change the way the economy works. Other examples, Intercontinental or Expedia and many other companies, they were doing online campaigns, promoting to people to travel now because that's their last chance to be on holidays and to work remotely. Because as soon as the economy opens and they have to go back to office, they cannot do it anymore. So do it now. Give us your money now because we need the money now and you will feel better. Again, totally wrong message. So what is going on? Previously, tourism was the problem, wasn't it? Or it was part of the problem of how we have ended up in being an unsustainable economy or society. And suddenly after COVID, through many different technology applications and messages and communications or mindsets that they have been set, tourism appears the solution to the problem by being the ethical, moral consumption to support the local economies, which is not bad, but as I said, there has nothing been done in the background, in the back office, to make the tourism a sustainable and ethical activity for somebody to pursue. I am in Santorini, as I mentioned before. I'm doing various projects. One of the projects I was involved, it was a mobile app for people to visit the volcano. The volcano is a geological park in Santorini. It's a natural beauty. The volcano is still active. We are being saved from time to time. Nothing worrying. It is very rich in terms of geology, in terms of history, in terms of culture. But you see here a picture of the volcano. What can you distinguish? You see people walking on it and the rocks, the surface being destroyed by people walking on it. And this is what you immediately see from far away. If you go closer to that, you can see the damage that is being happening. Suddenly, the authorities said, well, you know what? We spent a lot of paper to create paper-based brochures to educate people about what they see and to interpret the geological part in the volcano. And we created a mobile app so people download it and they go around and they can better understand what they see in the volcano and all that. And you know what? If you do go online and to see what is the functionality of this mobile app, you will immediately spot, if you're very careful, that there is nothing about behavioral ethics or code of behavior, how you should behave as a tourist at the volcano to respect the place. A basic thing, a very logical thing for somebody to think about. So, as I said, I was not going to give any descriptive aspect about any type of technology application innovation anyone can do, but I did give some examples because what is my core message? Is technology the problem? Is it a technology problem? Is it an internet problem, a Facebook problem, a YouTube problem, a mobile app problem? That we don't communicate the right information, the right messages, and we don't direct human behavior in the correct way? Or is it a socio-economical problem? Whose fault is it? Is it the technology fault, a human fault, a strategic planning fault, a priority goal? What is it? Well, rest assured, it's not a technology problem. The technology is just the tool. The way that we use it, the way we put it in action, it's a human problem. It's the human agents that they decide how to use the technology or not to use it. And of course, the use of the technology always determines the impacts of the technology as well. So it is our fault, in inverted commas. It's our mindset, it's our values that they drive the way we innovate and we use through technology. And this is what we really need to change. In the tourism field, we are not technology experts. I have to admit, tourism scholars, they don't create the technology. We apply the technology and we help the design of the technology. So our responsibility is to direct how the design of the technology and the use of technology is going to happen. Unfortunately, in our research, in academia, in industry practice, technology development and design has been driven by some assumptions and ideologies that are based on bad mindsets. And what do I mean by this? We give too much value to consumer value propositions like customer satisfaction is #1 priority. Oh yes, and what about community, cultural respect? Consumer sovereignty, it's not the panacea. Customer is not the king, sorry to say. Yeah. In Santorini, we have over-tourism. I would be glad if we have less tourists. I will be glad if tourists are not allowed to visit the volcano anymore. Consumers are not the kings. We really need to respect and have higher values than consumer sovereignty if we want to be sustainable in a real way and not a superficial way. Our mindset was that we can achieve economic development only through economic growth. Oh yes, and what about well-being? What about quality of life? Can you have development without quality of life? I don't think so. So politicians nowadays, they are lobbying to go back to the numbers of 19. They have over-exceeded the numbers of visitors in 19. What about quality of life? We are getting worse. Can you call this development? No, I would personally not call it development. I will call it going back to the caves. So thank you very much. I will end by saying what probably Dimitrios Buhalis said before. We have to become human-centered, or because I'm Greek, I will say we need to become anthropocentric. Yeah, anthropos in Greece means human. We have to put the human in the center and redirect or refocus our priorities in terms of what we do, what we research, and what we are philosophizing on. Thank you very much. And I'm really happy to take any questions.
We can listen to you for hours and hours. Thank you so much, Professor Sigala. So we have few questions from the audience. Okay, so someone asked the same question that Prof. Buhalis. If you want to give your opinion, is there anything we need to pay attention when choosing VR cases? For example, do we need to create a complex lab or just scenic ones?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I have a problem of voice as well.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, if you can be louder.
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
I hope it's okay now. Is there anything we need to pay attention to when choosing VR cases? For example, do we need to create a complex lab or just find scenic ones? The same question was asked to Prof. Buhalis, but I think this person is also seeking for your view. Anything from your side?
So if we need to think anything,
is there anything we need to pay attention to when choosing VR cases?
The art cases.
VR, virtual reality.
Sorry, I can't hear. The digital art.
Okay, I think, is it my microphone problem? Sorry, Prof. Sigala. Are you able to hear me? Oh, very difficult.
Yes, but not very clearly.
Okay.
Sorry. Can you
no
probably
worries.
type it?
Virtual reality, VR.
Virtual reality. Okay, so yes, if we need to pay attention anything to virtual reality.
Yes.
Um,
Did you type?
okay.
Okay, it's in the chat.
Okay, is there anything we need to pay attention when choosing virtual reality cases? For example, do we need to create a complex lab or just find scenic ones? Okay. I don't know the context of the question. I would assume it refers to when destinations need to use a virtual reality to create a simulation of what people can experience in that. What can I say? It depends on what is the purpose of using the virtual reality. Are you going to use it to promote a destination? Are you going to use a virtual reality to educate people? Are you going to use virtual reality to, I don't know, for people to play games? I don't think there is one best solution, isn't it? Or a best ideal virtual reality background or scenic background that you want to have. I'm not sure if virtual reality is going to be the next big thing, to be honest, because a lot of things are being said about the metaverse, although the virtual reality, it is the predecessor of metaverse. The metaverse is totally different though from augmented reality or virtual reality. It incorporates the interaction of people and the full immersion into this virtual world. And it is going to challenge how people experience things. For example, what does it mean for an avatar to serve somebody, isn't it? If you don't look at him or her through the eyes. I mean, in face-to-face service, looking somebody at the eyes, it means quality service. Of course, depending on culture. If we are in Asian cultures, looking somebody in the eyes, it's not really appropriate, isn't it? In the metaverse, does this matter to look somebody in the eyes? I mean, avatars do not have eyes. And what are the eyes in the metaverse? Or what does it mean to delete an avatar or to walk through an avatar? The way things will work on the metaverse, and of course, virtual reality, because metaverse is an extension of virtual reality, they're going to be totally different. And depending on how you want to use it, as I said, for educational purposes, entertainment purposes, promotion purposes, I think different design prototypes of or labs of metaverse or VR, they will need to be built. So I don't think there is an ideal answer to that or a single answer.
No, definitely. Thank you, Prof. Sigala. Someone is anchoring on your about the Santorini. What's the question? All right. In view of the effects of over tourism, do you think tourism is really benefiting Santorini? And how is Santorini managing carrying capacity?
Tourism is benefiting every place that it can exploit it appropriately, not just Santorini. Santorini has benefited a lot. I can give you many examples on how tourism has helped Santorini to restore all buildings, churches, to help the local farmers, particularly the grape growers, to find a market to sell their wine, and many other examples. The problem in Santorini, as in many other places, is over-tourism. The increased number of tourists and the inefficiency of resources from everyone, from the authorities, from the governments to every single company to manage the number of visitors. There is no good, for example, management of the traffic, of garbage, of recycling, of noise pollution, unless if the government gives more resources, and I don't know where the government is going to find them, because as you know, the Greek government is not the richest economy in the world, can find these resources to invest, the problem is not going to be solved. So you either find money to build the infrastructure and the capacity to manage the numbers, or you reduce the numbers. I don't find any other solution to the problem.
So something related to the over tourism. How, according to you, what would be your recipe to address the conflict, right, between wanderers, the love to travel, and the not contributing to over tourism as an individual?
Well, I'm sure everybody has read about many papers talking about regenerative tourism and transformative tourism and all that. I don't think this is only philosophizing. I think it's something that it can happen practically. I haven't seen it in many destinations though, although there are some destinations that they are striving to go towards that direction. Look what Hawaii is doing, for example. So far, tourism activity or tourism has been a consumerism activity. Yeah, we have been consuming resources instead of also generating resources. So if we reimagine tourism as an activity of transferring people from one place to another, not only for the purpose to enjoy the place, but to restore the place, to respect the place, to regenerate the place, I don't know, by replanting, collecting garbage, being educated, becoming part of the local community and support the locals. Unless if this is going to happen, then the tourism mobility, it's going to be just a consumption of resources and nothing else, not a sustainable activity to do at all. We will need to incorporate and enhance the tourism experience with something regenerative, so that you produce more resources than the resources you consume. That's the only way to make the industry, I think, more sustainable.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. There are a lot of more questions, but through the few questions asked, you already answered them. All right, so I hope the audience managed to get the knowledge and to get the information out of your answers. Thank you so much, Professor Sigala, for your time.
Thank you,
for your sharing.
and have a good continuation of the conference.
All right, I'm just going to do a quick summary of today's session, and we need to do a photo sessions. So please, everyone, don't leave now, and then we will be ending the session for today. All right, so just quick go through. So we had a good presentation from and sharing from Professor Buhalis, right, talking about how technologies, right, have changed drastically, how impacted and how much research are currently being done. He shared a lot of different frameworks, the pyramid, tourism 2030, about emotional intelligence, the SOMOCO, big data, right, the smart tourism framework, talking about robotization, right? So it has covered, right, a couple of things, a lot of topics open. Can see that there are a lot of gaps to be explored, a lot of things to be searched and researched. So that was very insightful, a lot of different information. So thank you for that. And Professor Sigala was referring a lot on behavioral, consumerism, the value proposition. We share about that. How much technology-driven innovation have been put in place. I would say thanks to the COVID pandemic, and how much things have been changed, and questioning what is the next normal. A lot of good questions, a lot of reflections were put in place, and actually talking about how CSR are being marketized, how emotions are being commercialized. We talk about marketing of solidarity, right? So reflecting a lot on those behavioral and ethical aspects, right? So very insightful also. I really and truly hope that everybody present here enjoyed the session and had a wonderful time. Before we close and end the session, we are going to do a photo session. Yes, and as written on the slide, give us your feedback, right, using one word and using the Slido and the code available. Dr. Rupam.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Joe Kim. For all the participants, thank you very much for joining the session. Especially thanks